You're listening to the Touch 'em Up podcast. I'm your host, Double M, and on today's episode, we have UFC Fight Night, Volkov versus Aspinall, preview, predictions, and analysis. UFC Fight Night takes place this Saturday, March 19th, from the O2 Arena in the United Kingdom. The UFC has returned to London with a full crowd for the first time in years. So without any further ado, let's get this started and step into the ring. All right. We are back, locked and loaded, ready to give you the predictions for UFC Fight Night, Volkov versus Aspinall. Returning to the O2 Arena, you know that crowd in London is going to be hot. You know that the crowd is going to be on its feet from start to finish. All the hometown fighters are going to be cheered, roars throughout the building for the hometown fighters. All the people who are coming from onto enemy territory, I guess you could say, they're going to be getting booed from top to bottom as well. So it should be a great experience. You know, the crowd in London always brings it. And since it's been so long, 2 years, I believe, since the last event there, there's a lot of pent up frustration from that London crowd that's going to be, expressed during this event. So we're going to get it started with the first fight on the main card, I believe. Yeah, so we're going to get it started in the lightweight division between Jai, the Black Country Banger Herbert, who comes into this fight with a record of 11 victories and 3 defeats, going up against the number 15th ranked featherweight, going up to lightweight for this fight since it was on short notice due to the loss of an opponent in Ilya El Matador Topuria, who comes into this fight with a record of 11 victories and no defeats, undefeated in professional mixed martial arts, and I believe he is 24 years old. He may be 23 still, but I think he's 24 at this point. So this is a great fight. This is honestly one of the fights I'm looking forward to the most when it comes to this card. I think that this is a very dangerous matchup for Topuria when it comes to the striking on the feet. Jai Herbert has been around for a long time. I believe he was a Cage Warriors champion. I'll have to check that really quick. Let me see. We'll just, it was Cage Warriors, right? Here you go. So he's the former Cage Warriors lightweight champion, and he also competed in BA MMA. Coming into this fight at 33 years old, he's got a lot of experience. Like I said, I know when it comes to fights, they're not that far off. 11 fights compared to 14 for Jai Herbert, but this fight on the feet, due to the length and reach of a guy like Jai Herbert, he's going to want to keep Topuria on the outside. He's going to want to be moving his feet, constantly pivoting, constantly shifting his angle, constantly angle changing, quarter turning, boom, 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 pop the jab, pop, pop, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, jab, hook, cross, jab, cross, hook. That's what he likes to do. Herbert is going to try to keep you at his length, keep you at his distance, and pick you off while you're trying to step into the range you need to be at. He's just going to try to pop you. Boom, boom, boom. And when it comes to a guy like Ilya Topuria, he's good on the feet as well. But I would say Ilya Topuria has a little bit more head movement when it comes to trying to close that distance and get inside. He doesn't move his head extremely well, but he does like level changes. He'll fake up top, go to level change, fake the level change, come up with a 6-3-2, fake the level change, come up with an uppercut, hook, overhand right, fake the level change, hook, and then as they try to angle off and pivot, he'll come over the top with the overhand right. So if he gets you up against the cage and you're, Herbert's up against the cage looking to move, trying to move laterally, when he goes to circle away, left hook, overhand right. Look for him to try to trap Jai Herbert up against the fence and let his hands go. But the best work for Ilya Topuria when it comes to this fight is going to be working the body. When you're a shorter fighter going up against a tall, long, rangy fighter, normally I would say low kicks, and I think that could be an area where that Topuria likes to exploit as well. But if he can slip inside and come up the center or, go around to that liver shot, just slip, boom, left hook to the body. 1, 2, slip, left hook to the body. 1, fake the cross. As he goes to turn, boom, rip that left hook to the body, come up with a left hook up top. Follow up with a straight right down the middle. 1, 2, 3, 3 head, boom, straight right. So boom, 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 boom. You got to mix it up. And I think that the body work is going to be a huge investment here for Topuria. I think he's going to You just try to hammer that body, try to use those fakes and feints, fake jab, fake jab, fake the jab, boom, right hand, shift your weight, boom, left hook, shift your weight, boom, work that shot to the body. We're going to see a body snatcher type of approach from Topuria here. And then I think once he starts landing that work to the body, maybe he fakes, acts like he's going to go to the body, and then uses it to get a body lock, get the over-under position. Try to go with a lateral drop like he hit on Yusuf Salal. He's got very good wrestling, very good jiu-jitsu, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, phenomenal on the ground. He goes for a lot of submissions, but he hasn't gotten any in the UFC, I believe. He almost got one on Yusuf Salal with an arm-in guillotine, and I believe he almost got a was it a Darce? It was either a Darce or an Anaconda in that fight as well, but Yusuf Salal was able to get out of it and, fight with every ounce of his being to not be submitted, because there was multiple chances in that fight for him to go to sleep or, get submitted by Topuria. And we saw in the fight with Renato Moicano, Jai Herbert, he's great on the feet. Like I said, if it stays at range and he's able to use that jab, the cross, the 1-2s, the 1-2-3s, and unload his combinations with the hands, it could be a long night for Ilia Topuria. But slipping inside, working the body, using those body shots to close the distance and get into the body locks, get into the over-under positions, and work those takedowns. I think we're going to see a grappling-heavy approach from Topuria, but I think he's going to use the body work to get his opponent to drop his hands. Then he's going to use that stepping into range to work the body, to close off the distance, to be closer, to shoot those takedowns, to get those body locks, to get those inside and outside trips. And then once he gets Jai Herbert to the ground, I think that's it. I think once he has him on the ground, Jai Herbert is a fish out of water when it comes to being on his back, using the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, go back and look at the fight with Renato Moicano. That's a perfect example with the grappling. I think Moicano uses his Jiu-Jitsu a little bit more than Topuria, because Topuria is a little bit more comfortable on the feet, in my opinion, but he still has great submissions. He still has good ground and pound. He's very good at great finding the legs when he gets into the full mount, looking to attack the neck with the arm-in guillotine, an anaconda, a Darce, like we said. And I think what's going to happen is Topuria is going to work the body like, bop, bop, boom, 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 bop, rip to the body, get him to cover up, kind of take the air out of him. Then he's going to go into the clinch range. He's going to work those trips. He's going to work those lateral drops. He's going to get those takedowns. He's going to work from the top position, try to land some ground and pound. That's eventually going to open up a submission, and Ilia Topuria is going to get the victory. So my pick for this fight is Ilia Topuria to defeat Jai Herbert via a second round. I'm going to go with an anaconda choke. I think he's going to try to turtle up and get back up to his feet as he shrimps his hips out, and then Topuria is going to catch him. And it's either going to be an arm-in guillotine or that anaconda choke, but I'm going to go with the anaconda choke. So Ilia Topuria to defeat Jai Herbert via a second round anaconda choke submission and improve to 12-0 in professional mixed martial arts. All right, up next on the main card, we've got a battle between, it's again in the lightweight division, and it's a battle of somebody who the fans are going to be extremely excited to see. And a lot of people are calling him this age's Conor McGregor, the new Conor McGregor. Maybe personality-wise, I can see it a bit, but I wouldn't go that far. I mean, he's only fought one time in the UFC, and that is Paddy the Baddy Pimblett making his return for the second time in the UFC, coming into this fight with a record of 17 victories and 3 defeats, going up against a, tested brawler, I would say, with a decent grappling and wrestling background in Rodrigo Vargas. His name is Rodrigo Vargas, Rodrigo Cazula Vargas, however you want to say his name. But I believe his actual name is Rodrigo Vargas, but I saw, like I said, on some pages, it's listed as Cazula Vargas. He comes into this fight with a record of 12 victories and 4 defeats. This is a great fight. And you know what? Honestly, no. I'm not going to say that. I feel like I say that a lot. This is a great fight. This is just another fight to get Paddy the Baddy Pimblett another win in the UFC. I mean, there's really no other way to describe it. I'm not saying that I don't think Cazula Vargas is going to be a tough matchup for Paddy. I do, just based off of how tall he stands, how low his hands are. His chin's always up in the air. The head movement just isn't there, but he likes to play that type of karate style, hands low, rear hand up at about chest level, hopping in, hopping out, hopping in, hopping out, stepping in, stepping out, playing the game. Sometimes he'll throw a switch left kick to the body. Sometimes he'll fake and go with a round kick and then come up with a two-touch round kick is what I like to call it, where you fake with the lead leg and then come up with the rear leg. So fake to the body, boom, come up top with a high kick to, a high kick to the head, I guess. But it's just a high kick, however you want to call it. I think that Vargas can make this interesting because he is a brawler, with the high chin of Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, who should have been knocked out by that monstrous left hook of Luigi Vendramini, where he went 1-2 outside right low kick, used that outside low kick to switch stance and cut Paddy the Baddy off, getting him to circle, boom, right into that left hook, crack Paddy the Baddy on the chin all the way up, boom, spun his head around, but he was able to come back. He kept his hands up high. I believe Luigi Vendramini was able to get the takedown there, but then Paddy the Baddy worked his way back up. They fought in the clinch in the over-under position up against the cage, a little bit of a clinch fight, and then Paddy the Baddy was able to get out on a break. 1-2. I believe it was an uppercut. He went uppercut, one, cross, pushed him back with the cross, full extension, got him up against the cage, unloaded on him, boom, dropped that right. I think it was a left hook on him. Left hook, right hook, right hook, boom, dropped that hook on his chin, dropped him against the cage and got the knockout in the first round. So, good debut for Paddy the Baddy. He had to overcome adversity in his first UFC fight. On the regional scene, in other promotions, Paddy the Baddy Pimblett has showcased some great jiu-jitsu as well. And like I said, Kazula Vargas is a very good wrestler. He likes to work that head on the inside single leg. He likes to transition head on the inside to head on the outside single, try to work the body lock. He's going to look to take you down. He's going to look to work from the top position. He's got a very, very solid guillotine that we saw him use against Rongju. And he almost had it, but he held onto it for minutes of the round. And the opponent was able to get out, but I feel like if you lock that in, he's got the grip, he's got the squeeze. I think that could be an issue for Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, but I think that I would say on the feet, I would give the volume and variety to Kazula Vargas. I think that he's kind of winds up with a lot of his shots, but if he just touches you and kind of lets the fight come to him, just 1-2, 1-1-2, 2 hook, 1-2 switch cross, stepping into the opposite stance, 1-2 inside low kick, 1-2 inside outside low kick. If he does that and attacks the inside and outside low kicks on the taller, longer fighter who has the very high up style, kind of like a mixture between a Muay Thai and karate hybrid. That's what I would call his stance. Karate for the in and out movement, but very tall stance like a Thai fighter, but he doesn't like to keep his hands high. If you get clipped by a guy like Kazula Vargas, he's got power, but I think the speed is going to be a big disadvantage for him against Paddy. Paddy Pimblett on the feet, his combinations are quick. It's not the greatest, he's not the cleanest, but he does have good speed when it comes to unloading the hands in the boxing combinations. So I think that speed is on the side of Pimblett. I think that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is on the side of Paddy Pimblett, but the wrestling is on the side of Kazula Vargas. So it's going to be interesting to see if Vargas can use that wrestling and get some takedowns, tie up Paddy against the cage, but he's going to have to look out for the submissions once it does hit the mat. And on the feet, I think, like I said, the longer, taller, rangier fighter is going to try to keep Vargas at range, keep him at a distance, pop him with the jab, pop him with the 1-2, the 2-3, the uppercut, fade back on the rear foot, fire off the cross, 6, fire, boom, 2, 6, pull 2. That's what's going to be coming at Vargas. He's going to have to look out for the lead left high kick. Sometimes he'll switch southpaw, throw the left high kick up there as well. He does like to mix up his kicks and his punches, and he does have that, in and out karate style movement, so that aids in the explosions on the kicks. So we'll have to see how the fight plays out, but I just think this is another it's not a gimme fight, because I do think that, like I said, Vargas is tough. He's durable. He's a brawler, so if it gets dirty, if it gets into a dirty fight with the high chin of Paddy the Baddy Pimblett and his chin always being straight up in the air, one of those looping hooks, one of those looping uppercuts, one of those looping overhands, can definitely catch Paddy and have him, end the night on the wrong end of a knockout. I think that Kazula Vargas can hurt Pimblett, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Pimblett's too smart to lose this type of fight. I think he's going to play on the outside, work the 1-2s, work the shots to the body, but I think we're going to see him approach the grappling, but it's going to be in a defensive manner after using his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to counteract the takedown attempts of Kazula Vargas. And I think he's going to leave himself open, get locked up in a triangle, and get submitted. So I don't know if I've ever picked 2 submission finishes back-to-back on a card, but I'm going to go with Paddy the Baddy Pimblett to defeat Kazula Rodrigo Vargas or Rodrigo Kazula Vargas via a, do I go second or first round? You know what? We'll go second round again. I'm going to go with a second round triangle choke submission for Paddy the Baddy Pimblett over Kazula Vargas. All right, and now we move to the co-main event of the evening. I know, like I said, I didn't do a full card prediction, but this is definitely the best fight on the entire card, and it's going to be the featherweight return of lightweight contender, number 8 ranked lightweight, Dan the Hangman Hooker, going up against hometown hero, I guess, hometown favorite in the number 7 ranked Arnold Almighty Allen, fighting out of TriStar Gym under coach Faraz Zahabi. When you look at the records, Arnold Allen comes into this fight with a record of 17 victories and 1 defeat. I believe he's on a 7-fight win streak. Currently 7 wins in the UFC, something like that. It's either 6 or 7. And then he's going up against Dan Hooker, who comes back with 21 victories and 11 defeats, coming off that first round submission loss to Islam Makhachev on short notice. But prior to that, had a win over Nasrat Haqparast and then a back and forth. So here's what happened with Dan Hooker. He had a back and forth war with Dustin Poirier. Poirier took over in the later rounds, but Hooker did hurt him early with punches and a knee from the clinch, that, knee, the hangman special, I like to call it, that Hooker likes to throw. Then he came in against Michael Chandler, gets dropped, finished in the first round. That was a big win for Michael Chandler and Chandler's UFC debut at UFC 257. Then he comes back and fights Nasrat Haqparast. Looks great. That was at UFC 266. Yeah, UFC 266. Looks great. Showcases some of his wrestling, which we haven't really seen much from Dan Hooker, and just outclasses Nasrat throughout the entire 15 minutes and wins the decision. Then just recently, about 3 or 4 weeks later, or no, I think it was it like a week later? Yeah, it was literally like a week later, a week and a half later. He steps in on short notice to fill in for Rafael Dos Anjos against Islam Makhachev, and gets submitted in the first round with a Kimura. So falling on hard times a little bit for the Hangman, but he's dropping down to 145. He's making his return to featherweight, and he's going up against, like I said, the streaking Arnold Allen, young competitor from the UK, really, really solid mixed martial artist all around, great striking, good footwork and movement and evasiveness. He's a very evasive fighter. That's something we'll talk about in this breakdown. Very good at circling, moving away, pivoting, angling off, using that check right hook over the jab of the orthodox opponent to get that outside foot and continue to circle on the outside. Very, very solid. And like I said, 17-1, it's no joke. Dan Hooker is a gangster. We already knew that. We knew that Dan Hooker was the man. But, to come in at 145, making the cut for the first time in, I think it's been since 2018. So the first time in about 4 years, he makes the cut down to 145, and, going up against a streaking contender in Allen, in a well-rounded mixed martial artist like him, and somebody who doesn't have the names on his resume like a Dan Hooker. A win over Dan Hooker here for Arnold Allen is huge. A win for Dan Hooker over Arnold Allen is big because he's such a streaking contender. He's a young up-and-comer. Derailing the hype train would be big for Hooker as well, especially in a return to 45. But we also have to worry about what is Dan Hooker going to look like at 145 pounds. He's a big lightweight. He's tall. He's built. He's long. Cutting down. He already looked sunken in, sucked out about, 4 or 5 days ago. Even a week ago during that weight cut, any pictures that surfaced, his face looked sucked out. He looked like he was on death's door. And the weigh-in, happens tomorrow, obviously, before the fights on Saturday. But it's going to be interesting to see how this weight cut affects him. Normally, when people drop weight like that after they were up at another weight class for so long, it does have an effect on their output. It does have an effect on their cardio and their ability to take a shot, their ability to take a punch. So it's going to be interesting to see how it affects Dan Hooker. But you look at a guy like Jose Aldo, he took it, scientifically. He did it the right way. He looked so sucked out at the weigh-ins for the first fight at bantamweight against Marlon Moraes, and then he comes in and looks great, arguably winning that fight, even though the judges gave the decision to Moraes. But a lot of people believe that Aldo won that. So this is going to be a great fight, but let's just look at some of the stats before we break it down. Let's see. So Arnold Allen's coming off a win over Super Sadiq Youssef, who just fought last weekend against Alex Bruce Leroy Caceres. Close fight back and forth, but I believe it was a pretty clear-cut win for Arnold Allen. He had the 2 knockdowns, one off the break, pulling him in off the clinch break to land the left hand, and then another one hiding the left high kick behind the left straight and landing on the chin of Sadiq Youssef and wobbling him and trying to catch him with a left hand as he shot in on a takedown. So the bigger moments were definitely Allen. The pressure and the pace and the forward movement was more Sadiq Youssef, but I still believe that Arnold Allen edged out at least 2 rounds to 1. I don't think anybody could say that Sadiq won the fight. So even though people say, oh, well, it wasn't it wasn't an impressive performance, he almost lost. He got the knockdowns. He clearly won 2 out of the 3 rounds. I mean, and everyone's like, well, if he didn't get the knockdowns. Yeah, well, I don't know what to say. Like, he did. So it doesn't really matter what if, it matters what happened. He got the knockdowns. It sealed the rounds, even if they were close before that, and he won. You look at the height, it's going to be a 4-inch height advantage for Dan Hooker, 5'8" for Arnold Allen, 6 feet tall for the Hangman. Like I said, a tall, long, rangy guy for 145. He's got a big frame. If he can make 145 consistently, do it healthy, and it doesn't affect his performance, Hooker can be a monster in the featherweight division. And I'm really excited and intrigued to see how this fight plays out because Allen is not an easy test for him at all. You look at the reach, it's a 5-inch reach advantage for Dan Hooker as well. 75-inch reach to a 70-inch reach for Dan Hooker, or for Arnold Allen. So 75-inch reach for Hooker, 70 inches for Arnold Allen. Leg reach, 39 inches for Arnold Allen to 42.5-inch leg reach for Dan Hooker. So again, a 3.5-inch leg reach, a 5-inch reach advantage, and a 4-inch height advantage. So it's tough. It's really tough. But honestly, when it comes to how I see this fight playing out, it's going to be orthodox versus southpaw. So obviously, Arnold Allen's going to be looking to use that check right hook over the jab of Dan Hooker. Use the check right hook, circle off, try to land the left kick to the body, try to land the left high kick, try to land that straight left hand. The best weapon that Arnold Allen has is that straight left down the center. He can land it off on an angle as well, off the break on clinches. He likes to land it like he did against Sadiq Youssef. That's how he hurt him. He'll grab your lead hand, play that hand fighting game, but sometimes he'll grab the wrist and pull you in as he angles off and lands that straight left. He likes to land it up against the cage. He's very good at landing the left hand on an angle against the cage, kind of like Conor McGregor, but he more does it backing up than moving forward. So as he backs up, he'll cut off the angle. He'll cut you off up against the cage, get off on an angle, and almost circle off with that straight left hand as you step in. So he'll circle, boom, land that straight left as he's pivoting, as he's circling away on that angle. That's something that Arnold Allen likes to do. That's something I noticed against Super Sadiq Youssef as well. When it comes to volume striking, I would definitely give the advantage to Hooker. I think Hooker's going to play on the outside a little bit, stand real tall, land the jab, try to land the inside low kick. He's going to try to attack the inside right calf of Arnold Allen. Boom, inside low kick, teep kick to the body. 1, 2, fake the knee up the middle. I think the knees up the middle will be a good weapon for Hooker. It's one of the best weapons he's used in his career. He landed it on Poirier. He landed it on Ross Pearson. He landed it on Jim Miller. He's landed it on a lot of opponents. He landed it on Nasrat Haqparast. Due to the fact that he's so much taller and due to the fact that Arnold Allen is probably going to look to grapple, look to get into the clinch, the over-under positions, look to use those takedowns up against the cage, it's going to be a good weapon for Hooker here, but he's going to have to set it up. Jab, fake the jab, fake the left hook, rear knee up the middle, fake the cross, teep, jab, fake, knee up the middle. He's going to have to set it up, but I do think that rear knee up the center and up the center line is going to be a weapon for him against a guy like Allen, who does move his head, who does circle off, and who is going to be looking to employ the grappling here. I believe that if Arnold Allen mixes it up and fights as a complete mixed martial artist, using the clinch game, using the takedowns, trying to get Hooker up against the cage, landing knees to the thighs, elbows over the top, knees to the body, taking him down. I think that Arnold Allen can win a decision. I think he's smart. He's got Faraz Sahabi in the corner. You know, you've got City Kickboxing versus TriStar Gym, two of the best gyms in the world going head to head. This is such a great fight and definitely worthy of a co-main event. This could honestly be the main event, in my opinion. But yeah, I believe that if he uses his wrestling and the grappling and he mixes it up with the striking, 1-2 hook, straight left, use the straight left to lower your level and change levels into the body lock, into the takedowns. Use your striking to set up the level changes. Use your level changes to set up the striking. I would more go the first route because you don't want to level change too much, even if it's a feint, because Hooker can time it with that knee up the middle, like we said, catch Allen on the chin, and that could be all she wrote. But I do believe that mixing up the wrestling and the takedowns in with his striking, using that constant lateral movement, that is going to be a big weapon for Arnold Allen. Like I said, I think volume-wise, that definitely goes on the side of Hooker. He's going to be more active. He's going to have more volume. It's only a 3-round fight, so if he can pick Arnold Allen apart and keep him at the edge of that reach, keep him at the end of that long reach advantage, pop, pop, calf kick, jab, 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 hook, 1, 2, 3, rear kick to the body, teep to the body, high kicks. I think that is where Hooker's going to win, is by picking him apart and then finally trying to set up a shot to connect on your chin. He's got a very, very good high elbow guillotine choke. He got it on Mark Jacasey. He's got it on a couple other people as well. Dan Hooker has a phenomenal guillotine choke. So if Allen uses a lot of that wrestling, I would advise him to use trips and inside and outside trips from the body lock. Maybe try to use elevate with the hips and take him down with a body lock throw from there, or a head on the inside single. Don't shoot traditional doubles. Don't shoot traditional single legs. Yes, they may work, but it's always a little bit easier for the wrestling to work against the taller fighter when you're shorter. But in my opinion, the taller fighter has a little bit of an easier time stopping the takedowns, but the shorter fighter has an easier time shooting those takedowns because you're already lower to the ground. You're already lower to the level you already want to be at. So it's not as much. It's easier for you to get in. It's going to make it harder for the taller, longer, rangier fighter in Dan Hooker to read those takedown entries, but it's going to be a little bit easier for him to stop the takedowns because of his height. So I hope I explained that pretty well. But I think it's close. I mean, I really don't want to make a pick here, but I honestly think, based off the weight cut, based off it being so long since we've seen Hooker down at 45, I think the cardio is not going to be there as much. I think the chin is going to be a little bit compromised. But overall, I'm going to go with Arnold Allen to defeat Dan Hooker. I'm pulling for Dan Hooker. I want Dan Hooker to win. I want him to come back, get a finish, get a dominant decision, beat a top prospect, and work his way back into wherever he wants to be, whether it's staying at 45 or going back to 55. I want Hooker to have more success. He's one of my favorite guys on the roster. But based on the stylistic matchup, based on the heavy weight cut, based on, just the overall well-rounded, complete game of Arnold Allen, and Hooker's just as complete. That's what makes this fight so great. But I have to go with Arnold Allen here. I'm going to go with Arnold Allen to defeat Dan the Hangman Hooker via a 29-28 unanimous decision. I don't think he gets a finish. I know I've heard some people say, a knockout and stuff like that. I don't see it. Hooker and Allen fight in a very similar way, but the volume and the finishing instincts is more on the side of Hooker. But when it comes to fighting smart, fighting tactical, and mixing up the game, mixing it up is definitely on the side of Allen. So my pick is Arnold Almighty Allen to defeat Dan the Hangman Hooker via 29-28 unanimous decision. All right, and now we move to the main event of the evening in the UFC's heavyweight division. You've got the hometown hero in the number 11 ranked Tom Aspinall, training out of Team Cowbon alongside Darren Till and Hamzat Chimaev, I believe, unless Till went out to visit Chimaev. Number 11 ranked Tom Aspinall, who comes into this fight with a record of 11 victories and 2 defeats, going up against the number 6 ranked Alexander Drago Volkov, who comes into this fight with a record of 33 victories and 9 defeats. I'm honestly very intrigued by this fight, being the fact that it's 5 rounds. The first 5-round fight of Tom Aspinall's career. Aspinall has come in and looked phenomenal. He got that first round knockout over Jake Collier where he landed that step-in knee to the body, and then the 1-2 followed up, knocked him out. Got that ground and pound TKO over Alan Baudot, which we saw, we thought maybe he was going to go for submission, but he got the ground and pound TKO. Steps in against the UFC veteran who's still winning at this point, and Andre the Pitbull Arlovski, former UFC heavyweight champion back in the day. Looks great in that fight. A little bit harder of a fight for him to get things going, but ends up taking down Arlovski and then locking in a rear naked choke without the hooks in and getting the submission. So then, boom, we think he's a knockout artist, but he uses the grappling and the wrestling and locks up that rear naked choke without the hooks in. Boom, gets the submission there. Then he steps in against Sergey Spivak, who just had a win over Greg Hardy in his last fight, and he, gets him up in the clinch, but he's landing constant combinations. A 1-2, a 6-3, fake 3-2, fake 6-3-2, fake 2-3-2. He's constantly just landing combinations. His hand speed, his fake and feint ability is there. It's there all day. And then he drops Sergey with a knee to the body, followed up by an elbow, kind of like a Superman elbow, because as he landed the knee, he pulled back like a bow and arrow and followed up with the elbow right to the chin, dropped Sergey Spivak and knocked him out. So finish over Andre Arlovski, finish over Sergey Spivak, finish over Alan Baudot, finish over Jake Collier, finish. I mean, this guy's a finisher. He's coming out of, like we said, Team Cowball alongside Darren Till. He's very quick for a heavyweight. He probably has the fastest hands in the heavyweight division. I'll say it right now. I know he hasn't fought, the top of the heap. This is his first chance at fighting the top of the heap in that heavyweight division. But the hand speed is there, and he's got the quickest hands in the division. And we've seen him that he has wrestling. We've seen his takedowns as well. So going up against a guy in Volkov who's coming off that victory over Marcin Tybura in his last fight, was able to stop, I think, 9 out of 10 takedowns or 10 out of 11. Only got taken down once, but was able to work his way back up to the feet. Land those, just constantly stuffing the takedowns of Tybura. And then even on the feet, he was getting caught. The problem with a guy like Volkov is he's so tall for the weight class. I mean, you look at the height. He's 6'7", a 2-inch height advantage over Aspinall for this fight. But him being so tall and so long, he doesn't move his head. There's no head movement. There's no slips off the center line. There's no, slip, roll. There's no slip and pivot. He walks forward with his hands up high. He walks forward with his hands, and he kind of just walks into range, jab, 1-2, hook, cross. Use that cross to pull back into a switch lead low kick, cross low kick, 1-2, hook, 1-2, uppercut. He does that. That's just how he fights, because since he doesn't move his head off the center line, that's kind of a recipe for disaster against a guy who's as quick with the hands as a Tom Aspinall. Now, power-wise, we've seen he has power. We've obviously seen that. I mean, he knocked out Sergey Spivak. Spivak dominated Tai Tuivasa. He just beat Greg Hardy. He's a well-rounded individual. He's been hurt before. He's been dropped before. I believe he's been finished before, aside from this Aspinall fight. But, he's not an easy guy to put away, and it hurt him, and it hurt him bad, and that was it. That knee, and then followed up with the elbow. I think that Volkov is durable, but he does have the tendency to get hit. He has the tendency to get hit because his chin is up high. He just moves forwards and backwards. There's a little bit of lateral movement, but not much. He's kind of a plodding fighter. He doesn't move his head, like I said. And I think that the quick hands and the combination speed of Tom Aspinall, for the first 2 rounds, it's going to be extremely dangerous for Alexander Volkov. Extremely dangerous. And especially since we've seen Aspinall can fall back on his wrestling, can fall back on his grappling and jiu-jitsu if he needs to. We've seen him. It can happen. We've seen it. For the UFC, they want Aspinall to come out here and finish Alexander Volkov. But it's not going to be that easy. Volkov is a tested veteran. He has cardio going into the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. I think that he's gotten a little bit slower. He's gotten a little bit more lackadaisical. He's kind of fallen off in his recent fights. Now, I know he just beat Tibora, but even there, I mean, he looked good. He stopped a lot of the takedowns, landed some good combinations, but he was getting clipped on the feet. And Tibora is not doesn't have quick hands. If he stands there and gets hit by a guy like Aspinall, those first 2 rounds, that could be it. You know, the first 2 rounds are the most dangerous for Volkov against Aspinall. Once it goes into the third, the fourth, and the fifth, we haven't seen Aspinall go that long. We haven't seen how his cardio holds up the longer the fights go. Judging off the fact that he fights out of Team Cowboy and he has that very technical, tactical, in and out karate style, explosive, uses a lot of feints, slips, kind of tries to pull, shoulder roll some of the shots. I think that if he fights technical and tactical, he can win. He can have cardio to go the third, the fourth, the fifth, to go 15, 20, 25 minutes. I think it's a possibility. But I think I would give the advantage to Volkov in the third, fourth, and fifth rounds, especially the championship rounds. You know, when he fought Curtis Blades, he was getting taken down over and over and over and over and over again. But he hurt Curtis Blades in the fourth round, almost finished him. So he carries the power into the fourth. He carries the power the longer the fight goes. Now, can he carry that power at this point in his career? I don't know. I think he's a little bit of a different fighter now. He's coming off a couple losses. You know, then he's coming off that win over Tybura, but he's not the same fighter as he was when he was, you know, beating the likes of Alistair Overeem, when he knocked out Fabricio Verdum. I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for him, but it's a really tough fight to call, because do you go with the early explosions of Tom Aspinall and the hand speed to catch Volkov with his chin up in the air and drop him and hurt him and knock him out? 100% I believe that can happen. Can Volkov weather the storm, pick him apart the longer the fight goes, try to use the clinch up against the cage, work the wrestling, tire him out, and maybe win the third, fourth, and fifth round, 3 rounds to 2, maybe get a late finish in the fourth or the fifth? Yeah, I think that can happen as well. I've been going back and forth. I really have. It's been very hard to decide who I think is going to win this fight. It's like early Aspinall, late anything past the second, third, anything going third round on, I lean Volkov. Early on, like I said, I lean Tom Aspinall. But overall, man, this is so hard to pick. I feel like whenever I pick Volkov to win in fights where he's kind of underestimated, he ends up losing. But I don't know. I think Aspinall's a phenomenal fighter. I think he's great. But I don't know if I can pick him against a guy. I mean, you look at it, you got 14 or 13 fights for Aspinall compared to almost 40, almost 50 fights for Volkov. Now, we said the same thing again with Cyril Gane, but he went toe-to-toe with Cyril Gane. He went toe-to-toe. I had it scored, honestly, 2-2 going into the fifth. I know a lot of people said, 4 rounds to 1, Gane, 3 rounds to 2, or 5 rounds to 0 for Gane. I didn't see it that way. Maybe on a rewatch I would see it differently, but he went back and forth with Cyril Gane. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to go with... this is so hard. This is one of the hardest main events I've ever had to predict. Oh, who do I think is going to win? Who do I think is going to win? Ooh, man. Aspinall is so explosive and so quick, and with Volkov's chin in the air... I don't even want to make a pick here. This is literally a pick 'em. This is 50-50. I'm going to go with the veteran. I'm going to go with Alexander Volkov. I'm going to go with a 48-47 unanimous decision victory for Alexander Volkov over Tom Aspinall. I think it might be too much too soon, even though Volkov's towards the tail end of his career, and this is a very tough fight for him. I still think he can pull it out. I still think he can pull it off. I still think he's well-rounded enough. I still think he's technical and tactical enough to do that. Going off that Gane fight and how back and forth that was throughout the 25 minutes, I got to go with Volkov. So my pick is Alexander Drago Volkov to defeat Tom Aspinall via 48-47. We'll go split decision. I'll go split. 48-47 split decision for Volkov over Aspinall.